All right. So, welcome to the Thinkman Circle. We're going to go through some videos and some text and do some background work. And we're getting ready for the next Growth OD on Monday. We are going to meet next week, Monday and Tuesday. Then we're going to take a long break over the holidays. And Olivia and I are going to be, and Tom will be in the conference. Maybe Anastasia. I don't know if she's coming, but don't feel pressured. We're going to go. And Paul, welcome back from wherever you were. And
I was in California, traveled about 4,000 miles in a week,
Geez.
celebrated numerous birthdays. Happy birthday, Sabine, because Thanksgiving Day, where we were guests at somebody's house, another one of the guests had a birthday on Thanksgiving Day.
Wow.
And his wife, who showed up, had the same birthday as mine, November the 21st. Celebrate, yada, 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 yada. Let's just say,
Okay.
Oh,
uh,
Paul,
Yada, yada,
happy
yada.
birthday belatedly, November 21st.
So
Yeah.
it's, and I have my son's birthday is the 23rd, my niece's birthday is the 24th. Yeah, that. It's just, how happy can you be celebrating? And I need to shut up and let David get on with whatever the
Yeah.
program.
I'm still getting organized, as you can see. Well, okay. So uh, I'll just show you the video and maybe do a couple of setups for it. Um, I was looking for a case for the topic, and I hadn't come up with one until I was riding my horse today, and I thought about, well, I'm going to use Nickerson Gardens in Los Angeles. Um, Nickerson Gardens is the largest public housing unit west of the Mississippi. It's got 5,000 people live there and 1,025 units. When I was a prof uh, at Loyola Marymount after UCLA, uh, I set up tutoring programs with the students from Loyola Marymount Jesuit University, and we would go to down into Watts to Nickerson Gardens, and I'd ride my motorcycle, and they would take cars, I guess, and I got that was one of my best consulting experiences was with Nora King and Nickerson Gardens, and we set up. Um, we got the first Peace Corps grant ever that was submitted by a community, like residents of public housing, and I submitted this thing, and we got accepted. And then we were the first grant to do economic development. Most Peace Corps grants, they come back and they're teachers in the school program for a while. We didn't want any teachers. We wanted economic developers. So, because that's usually what they did overseas anyway. And they're used to working with nothing, the Peace Corps, you know what I mean? So, we did all that. But at the same time, I was going through my divorce, my bankruptcy. I was teacher of the year, so my ups and downs were really high. And the Nickerson Gardens thing was just taken off. Oscar Edwards, who you know, did the trans worked with the transportation grant that they had to for transportation for people out of Nickerson Gardens into other parts of LA for jobs and medical appointments and other things. I don't know if you've been to Watts, but it's you got a community, and around the community is a whole bunch of homeless and nothing, right? I mean, no businesses, no shopping or anything other than liquor stores. There's probably a dozen liquor stores all around it. And so to get to any other kind of shopping or services, you have to go out of the community. But at the same time, this was the time of Bill Gates was the police officer, and it was as bad probably then as it is now for people coming out of communities, you know? There was a lot of enforcement. There wasn't ICE and all that stuff, but there was if when Rodney King rioted, I was in the community, and they told me don't come today. You know, when the verdict came, they said don't come today. You know, because mothers would just take their children and lock the doors and stay inside. Because if you were outside, the police in those days, not all police, but kind of the stormtrooper kind of police would shoot you, shoot your children. Um, but they had also community police that rode bicycles around the community, and they were a lot of times were people that grew up in that community. So I want to talk about Republicans and Democrats for just a second. I worked with Jack Kemp, who was a Republican. And in the Republicans of that day, they believed in economic development for people in public housing. And so they did that. So we submitted a program over, it took us about a year to get it off the ground, where if you were um, in public housing, you could get a job in public housing, like I say, as a secretary. They didn't call them assistants, they call them secretaries, clerks, or doing maintenance of the houses themselves, or the units. But then nobody had ever crossed that divide to get a job in the bureaucracy before, because the bureaucracy said, well, the people steal, they're on drugs, da 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 da, we don't want any part of that, you know. So I had to negotiate with a lawyer. That was my consulting job from the city housing authority. And this was when Mayor Tom Bradley was mayor. Now, Tom Bradley would come to the community and get an endorsement from Nora King, um, who's the head of the resident management program under Jack Kemp for that particular housing unit. And same with Jordan Downs, had a uh, housing council with the president elected by the community, et cetera. So, on one hand, they would court them for political gain, but on the other hand, wouldn't do much for them at all. Uh, Maxine Waters was the Democrat then, and still is. And the Democrats at the time would do warehousing. No programs, no economic development, no education, nothing. You were in the community, you were warehoused, you, that was it. Zero opportunities. Um, I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, by the way, so I'm just was working with the community. So part of the thing I wanted to communicate that's not in the film is in order for me to be a consultant in a community that's highly Christian, very biblical, I couldn't come in and say, well, I'm a professor from Loyola Marymount and I can help consult with you, because that was all bullshit. The only thing that mattered is if I could cite the Bible and say, well, why planning was good. And I would go through the Bible text and find examples why planning was good and why, what kind of leadership we should try to be, et cetera, et cetera. So back to negotiating with the lawyer. So the lawyer, I would say to the lawyer, okay, we would like a program to apprentice residents to take jobs that are available in the city bureaucracy. And he was, oh, sure, sure. If you could do that, but you're going to need to have training. We got no money for training. I said, well, I'll get professors to volunteer and they'll do the training. And some of the residents will apprentice and do the training. And then we'll do what's called in-basket training. I don't know. It's, you have an in-basket and this crisis happens. And then you see how the person responds to it, you know? And so he said, fine, fine. If you could do that, we'll do it. Well, the next meeting, he would say, well, I never said that. I'm sorry, I never said that we could ever employ residents in these jobs. So this went back and forth for a few months. And finally, I said, okay, I got a tape recorder. You all get a tape recorder, bring it, and we're going to tape this guy. And next time he says he didn't say it, we're going to play that tape. And that's what we did. And so when we played the tape and he said he did say this, we said, well, you said it. He said, all right, if you can get it done, we'll have a trial program.
Mhm.
So we interviewed um, 75 people from the community for 7 slots. I think 3 were to be clerks, and there was a whole hullabaloo. Well, they're going to seek confidential information about residents. Oh my God! Oh my God! You know, you can't have that. And we would say, okay, they'll if they have any discipline issues, you can fire them, and if anybody's reprimanded, you can just stop the whole program. And then there were some that were doing maintenance. So we had the 7. We we spent a couple weeks running them through in-basket tests, selected 7 out of the 45, I think it was. They were never late, never had a single discipline problem. You know why? Because they upheld that community. They knew if they screwed up, nobody else would ever get another opportunity in this island community in the middle of Watts. So they did well. And then the second year, we got 40 people hired. And it was about that time I met Grace Ann and moved to New Mexico. And it was about that time I was also bankrupt and divorced, and Grace Ann was divorced. So a lot of personal stuff. So this module is about um, the notion of relationships that I call the between. And when I was doing the W's with you all, and it's with, so it's being with a community, being with relationships, creating friendships, creating programs together, uh, doing consulting together. And it also has a highly spiritual component to it. Not much of that's in the video, um, but this was, I want you to know, well, like this first video that I did, and I didn't pick the title. They saw the rise and fall of this professor in this downward spiral. And I'm going like, I don't know, that's a bit extreme, but you know, when I write a script, right? And I put it into the notebook LM, and depending on what I put in the script, they will create images. And so that's my setup for the first film. Let me just show it to you rather than do anything else about it. Okay, so background. Okay, you have to set it up each time you come in here. All right, we're a go. Okay, it's playing some other video now. See if I can go back and get it to find the video I put up there. Okay, there it is. Uh,
Well, we're about to dive into the incredible story
can
of
you
a
hear it?
professor whose
Can you
life
hear
just
it? Okay.
completely unraveled. But in the middle of all that chaos, he found a totally new way of understanding human connection. And this is a quote from the man himself, David Michael Boje. Now, he doesn't just call it a rough patch. He uses this really interesting term, a falling anti-narrative. Think of it like this. It's not just a setback. It's like the main story of your life just completely comes apart at the seams. It's about that downward spiral and the unexpected things you can find at the very bottom. All right, so to really get how amazing his comeback was, we first have to understand just how far he fell. And this wasn't just a little stumble, it was a deep personal crisis that started it all. It wasn't just one thing, it was this devastating domino effect. It all kicked off with a divorce that left him holding all the bills. That quickly led to bankruptcy and then homelessness. He ended up couch surfing in Nickerson Gardens, one of the largest public housing projects in the entire country. And here's what's so interesting. He didn't just see it as losing stuff. He called it a state of fallenness. It's this deep existential crisis where you feel completely cut off from society. It's this idea that you're just floating with absolutely no ground beneath your feet. And get this, the chaos he was feeling inside was a perfect mirror of what was happening outside. There he was in Nickerson Gardens, stuck right in the middle of a political fight between two community leaders, all while being literally surrounded by a memorial for children who had been lost to gang violence. The turmoil outside was a perfect reflection of the turmoil inside. Wow. So, how do you even begin to climb out of a spiral like that? When everything is gone, where do you start? Well, for him, it all began with a couple of really crucial moments. Well, the first little glimmer of hope, it actually came from his little brother, Kevin. It was just a straight up, brutally honest warning that cut right through all the noise. And it forced him to face one of his coping mechanisms head on. And you know what? He listened. He stopped drinking right then and there. And then came the second turning point. And this one is just, wow, a moment of pure, unbelievable chance. He's standing in a cafeteria line at some conference. He sees this woman, Grace Ann, and bam, this thought just hits him. She's the one. And then, in that exact same moment, he overhears her say this to a friend. And he just went for it. He didn't hesitate. Think about that for a second. In a single instant, a thought became a word, and that word became an action that literally changed the entire course of his life. And yeah, he became a vegetarian on the spot. So you hear these stories, a warning from a brother, a chance meeting in a cafeteria, and you might think, wow, that's just random luck. But for Boje, it was something much deeper. It was all rooted in this new way of thinking he developed, a concept he calls the sixth W. You know the 5 W's, right? Who, what, when, where, why. Well, Boje says there's a sixth, and it's with. This is really the heart of his whole philosophy. With is about making a conscious choice to connect. It's the dialogue between your inner world and your outer actions. And it's the key to breaking through that feeling of total alienation. Okay, so this sounds great, right? A nice philosophy. But here's the thing. It's not just some abstract idea. Boje actually developed a really practical way to apply it in your own life. And it all revolves around something he calls the third eye. So he pulls from this ancient Jain philosophy to talk about the third eye, or ajna, as our eye of inner wisdom. And this isn't about being psychic or anything like that. Think of it more as a tool for wisdom. It's how you learn to see past the surface, take control of your own energy, and really put that with Sangha philosophy into action. And he actually lays out a how-to guide. It's a 7-step process. You start by getting a handle on your thoughts, both the negative ones coming in and the positive ones you send out. Then you do things like meditate, use a mantra, and it all builds towards this goal of harmonizing what you see on the inside with what you see on the outside. And that last step is crucial, consciously choosing who you are with. So here's the cool part. Boje didn't just figure all this out for himself and then, call it a day. He took everything he learned and turned it into an invitation for the rest of us to find our own way through the stormy seas. This is just a beautiful way to think about it, isn't it? Every time we make one of those intentional choices, every time we choose to connect, we're turning that with key. We're literally planting the seeds for our own future happiness. And this isn't just an idea anymore. It's a real, living community. He helped start this group called Growth OD. It's basically a weekly get-together on Zoom for anyone and everyone, professionals, artists, you name it, just coming together to practice what it means to be with each other. It's a place to learn, to share, and to grow. And he wraps up his whole story with this incredible metaphor. It turns out his last name, Boni, actually translates to buoy. And that's exactly how he sees himself now. Not as a rescuer chasing after ships, but as something stable, something anchored, that's just there to mark a safe passage for other people navigating their own storms. And that really brings it all back to us, doesn't it? This whole incredible story of falling and rising, it's not just about him. It's an invitation for us to look at our own lives and ask, okay, when I'm in those rough waters, what are my buoys? What are the things, the people, the ideas that can help guide me back to shore?
Okay. I got to make sure that I got it turned off. Okay. All right. All right. Well, that's the first video. So, and I think like last week it's a little bit hyped up, like a lot, but, and Yeah, I don't know how to tone it down. I got to rewrite the script to tone it down. You know what I mean? What are your thoughts, reactions?
I don't think it's too much. I think it's perfect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I liked it a lot.
Well,
And
It's
I think
captivating.
I think sometimes we have a hard time when it's about us, but I thought it was great.
yeah.
Oh, it's what I detect is the AI, the heavy hand of AI uh, at work as you are inserting or creating or something. The AI God or whatever it is doing its magic, and it's like, please lose the magic. Oh,
To me, David, like sometimes when I'm trying to learn to speak and I think I'm doing really outrageous actions, and then people say, oh, you weren't outrageous at all. This is kind of the same thing that you look at it. To me, it was very well done. To Paul's point, maybe a little help from AI, but I like the dialogue. It flowed nicely. The message came out very clear to understand,
Mhm.
so it accomplished the purpose of helping me understand what you're trying to get across. So thank you. Good job.
Yeah,
I
thanks a
think it was
lot. Thank you for the feedback. I want to show you some pictures now of the actual text I put in. So you can see where AI kind of mushed it a bit and kind of left a few important things out, put it that way. So let me try this and see if I can find it. All right. So this is Nora King, and it's a graduate of one of the first seven people um, to get a job in that bureaucracy called public housing in city of Los Angeles. So she's wearing my cap and gown, by the way. This was a low budget enterprise, so we had each of the seven come up, and Nora would present a certificate, which we printed on a computer somewhere in the university, and then we spent $5 on certificates, and then we only had one cap and gown. Um, this is a year later when you had a whole bunch of graduates. And at that time we could rent um, more gowns. So I think there were 40 in the program at that time. Now what happened here, Nora King was a long-term resident management program person, elected by the community. She was a very strong leader. And the next round of the election, Maxine Waters got involved and promoted another resident to become head of the resident management group, and that was Pam. And here Pam is in the photo, I think second from the left, and jumping up and down. And well, Pam systematically decommissioned every program except for this one, and that Nora had started. And I remained a consultant with Pam. So I was able to adapt from one political party to the other and stay in the consultant. And we kept the food bank going and transportation, but there were no new initiatives because their program was forget about Nickerson Gardens, don't try to develop it, just get people the hell out of there and move them to up in the valley somewhere, San Fernando Valley or down in Long Beach or, Culver City. Just move them out. So the thing that neglects is you had generations of people like all of Nora King's, is Nora on the left, all her children went to college. I mean, she defies all stereotypes of what it's like in a poverty community. And her story was not alone. The people that were active did that. This is the part about my little brother, Peace Corps. Here's Pam Griffin, And you could see I had a mustache at the time, and I was rather handsome. I don't know. Let's just admit it. A lot different looking dude than I am now. Anyway, uh, on the background is in the middle of the housing unit is a kind of a gymnasium and a gathering point. And on the doors and the walls are the names of all the children that were killed in drive-by shootings.
Mm.
And there are hundreds of names, probably 300 names on that memorial. And people took that memorial very seriously. Um, I would dress as a clown once a year and come into the community. This is Judith White, a faculty member at Loyola Marymount, and she dressed. I guess that's supposed to be a clown outfit. We'll give her points for it. And we would work with the children, and you can see I'm in line there, uh, and I guess it's Halloween, and we're going into the thing to do the tutoring, at the students coming down from Loyola Marymount. Uh, and I had trouble with the faculty, not the faculty, but the administration was a little bit scared. Their children. But the nice thing about a Jesuit university is the students really want to be involved in social justice issues. They want to be in the community. They have good reading and writing skills, you know. Um, and I use Ray Belisian Bakhtin here. I didn't pick that up in the video. So I guess the point that I would want to make in this is that um, I was befriended by the community in relationships. Although as I went through divorce, bankruptcy, I was accepted in the community. My consulting role didn't change, moving from one political party to the next. You see what I mean? All that wasn't in the film. They made it like, oh, he's in the danger zone and oh, he hit bottom and then he met his new wife. Well, that's not accurate as a story, you know. And I did have, don't get, here's Pramod Ben and Gurudev, and that's where the Jain, it only mentions Jainism once, but the Jainism is this whole notion of ajna, which means commanding and control of your third eye, of your outgoing thoughts and emotions, and matching and controlling your inner thoughts and emotions. So it's very much behind the whole purview thing that I do. You know, if you've seen me work with people and emotions and thoughts, and then uh, it, it's and then prajna is a mantra of inner awareness. I'm not trying to sell you a mantra, but I'm just saying that this was all deeply happening when I met Grace Ann and went to India, met Gurdev, and um, I didn't leave Christianity behind as much as I embraced Christianity and Jainism both. You know what I'm saying? So the third eye is um, your your sixth chakra, you know, right between the eyebrows. Um, and in the thing with Holy Fire Reiki with Vanessa and Lucero, they were doing the same kind of thing. You know, in fact, I can't give you the secrets of Holy Fire Reiki, but I can tell you that the third eye is deeply part of it. And the third eye is ancient Sanskrit from thousands of years before Reiki was even started, you know, any kind of Reiki. Um, but Gurudev passed away, and he was the first Jain monk to get on an airplane, the first one to go, because they had this whole thing of, you sweep the ground for bugs, and they had he's dressed in white. You had the white clad Jains that wore clothes. You had the naked Jains that didn't wear clothes. Not all Jains, but the monks, you know, and this the male monks, by the way. But he actually got married to promote a band, which is another. So he made all these violations. But in Mumbai, former Bombay, he would stand outside his balcony, like third floor, and 100,000 people would assemble to hear him speak. You know, so the man had a he was during his lifetime walking with Gandhi barefoot through India during the whole Gandhi thing with the British colonization. So that's maybe too much that you don't need to know, but I wanted to give you context that didn't make it into the video.
Actually, I find that really helpful. And I just feel also that, the third eye concept, that actually it's really fascinating me, David, because this is something we can apply, in our own lives. And I'd like to learn actually more about this. Where would I go?
Well, I have a second video.
Oh, well, okay.
But well, let's talk a little bit first before we explore that one. Um, so things are moving at a high pace here now in Caballo, New Mexico, with Grace Ann's rehab, my rehab, the things that are going on for Los Angeles, the whole veteran thing, and um, yeah, I'm used to being stood up in front of people and giving presentations with no notice and no notes, and I was used to it when I would be a consultant for the public housing community, Republican or Democrat, and they would say, okay, David, we need you to negotiate for this with the city. You're going to meet them in an hour. We're going to stay in the other room or we're going to stay home so that they can't trap you into agreeing anything. You always can say, well, I have to check with the community. I can't agree to anything right now. That was our strategy for negotiation. But I learned a lot about consulting. I mean, I learned more there than I did in all my books and about anything I ever read about consulting, you know what I mean, or any training I ever took, because Nora was always saying, David, you're way out in front. You got to turn around, come back. You got to explain, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? What is this about? You can't be out there in front. You're consulting for us. Okay? You need to get that in your head. And then we'd pray about it, and we did a lot of prayer stuff. And I would try to communicate. Um, but I think the thing that made it where I could be a consultant in the first place, um, along with Oscar Edwards, who you've met, is that I had been on welfare as a child. So I could, and that's when they started giving me crap about, oh, you're a professor, you don't really know anything about us. I'm going, well, I was on welfare with my mother. I know what it's like to be in a single family home and be the eldest child and have no money and have to eat popcorn in the morning. I mean, nothing wrong with popcorn in the morning, but we didn't have money for the like cereal. You remember the food pyramid? Well, you had to go to school and report that you ate all the things on the food pyramid. But if you had no money, you didn't eat anything. So I remember going to school and I'd eat milk over popcorn. Anyway, I guess I'm straying off point. So I don't know why I'm
Yep,
even saying this.
yep, not at all. I beg to differ. When you said they looked at you as, oh, you're the college professor. What do you know about poverty and the projects? Did I hear that right?
That's correct.
And yet your own story, David, that was bubbling underneath, beneath, or where is, hey man, I have lived this. I'm a white guy from somewhere else, but I was with a single mother. We didn't have anything. I ate popcorn for breakfast. And I go, ka-ching. That's the relevance is yours for me right here. Is hearing your story about you being perceived as you don't understand this. You're from the ivory tower universe.
Yeah.
And the way
Yes.
that it happened was you told your story, or I don't even know if you told your story.
Oh, I told my story. Yeah.
Oh,
And
so
you know what I got back? I got a hugs. I got hugs. And you know what I never got from my mother? Hugs.
hugs.
This was the
Oh,
kind of friendship community, a mother's community where prayer and hugs and sharing food were there. I mean, imagine people taking money from their own welfare checks, buying food with it, and serving the homeless in their community. Of course, they're also trying to convert them. So that was kind of weird. But the thing that I was getting in kind of 5 years of going back and forth working with them, and I would go 3 days a week and handle my professor full full thing, three-course load, because I was just motivated. I was just inspired to do the work. You know what I mean? And they would embrace me in a way that I had never been embraced before. And I learned they would hug me. And then once a year, I'd visit my mother while she was still alive, and I would hug her. A mother hug, imagine this. You lock your hands, and she would wiggle out within 3 seconds, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. That's as long as that woman could stand to be hugged, you know?
Can can you? This may be inappropriate, but when you tell this story, I'm going, oh, here's you in the situation where people looked at you and said, "You're from another planet. You don't understand us." That changed. I'm going now. You were talking about maybe that change, which triggered a reaction in you, which is to go hug your mother who never hugged you, and there's this absolutely incomprehensible to me. I'm using that word about your mother reacting to you. Hey, man, no hugging. Back off. And there's a story
I
there.
know, because she was
And
a bitter woman who had divorced, and
is
I
that it?
looked like her husband. You know what I mean? So she
Oh,
wasn't, and she never hugged anyway because, anyway, it wasn't done.
You can
okay.
imagine
But
the trauma she had, you know.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah, you got to,
yeah.
I really have a lot of empathy for. I want to say, it mentioned the homeless thing. Now, normally I don't put the homeless thing in my story, but it was in the text, so it made a big deal out of it. Well, I had petitioned the city to go and live there for 60 days. And they said, well, you can't live there. It's only for residents. Da, da, da. We have a waiting list. Da, 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 da. I said, yeah, but there's people that have extra bedrooms and we could find a couple. I want to live there because the Peace Corps people coming back from overseas, from god awful places, a lot of them, were scared to live at Nickerson Gardens. I said, well, the whole point is they live there with the community and they do economic development like they lived in the communities overseas. And they said, no. I said, well, I'll do it. But by the time I got approval, I actually was homeless because I had this bankrupt and my ex and took all the children, moved to New York, and I had to sell all the furniture in a garage sale, and I had like, I don't know, a couple $100, and I couldn't rent a place in Westwood. So, and at that time, I got approved to live in the community. So my little story is this, and it's short. We're having dinner together, this couple, young couple, late 20s, early 30s, husband and wife. They both work and they live in the community. So they had a car and they worked and they came, lived in the community because the community was where their friendship was, where their cousins and maybe an aunt or something lived. And So living there was a community thing. So at dinner, they started singing opera to each other. I knew Sabine would like this story. So they were singing, uh, I don't know which opera it was, Sabine, but it was, she would go in this high voice, and hit these notes, and then he would do his baritone and hit his notes, and they were singing back and forth. So every dinner was something you would not believe. If you were an outsider, you just go like, what the heck? You're in the middle of opera, in the middle of Watts, in the middle of public housing, in the middle of a welfare community. Like, how can that be possible? You know what I'm saying? And by the way, they probably didn't report all their income, so I'm not going to tell their names. That's the other thing. There's a lot of underground economic entrepreneurial stuff that they can't report because then they get kicked out, you know? Anyway, I'll shut up because those are stories that didn't make it into the video. And I don't,
They
but
they are the vital heart of the story.
I,
Damn.
You know,
Rob, I don't know. I just don't know. I wanted to,
well, I mean, I think it is so interesting, right? I mean, what you say about expectations, right? I mean, how narrow our expectations can be, right? In a way, why, I mean, we have these ideas of what goes together and what doesn't, right? I mean, like opera and a housing project, but then on the other hand, why not, right? Because I mean, that speaks to our own conditioning,
Mhm.
like, our own, it's like, well, well, I'm not used to that, but I mean, that's part, I think, of, our own, I don't know, maybe short-sightedness,
yeah,
more than theirs. I mean, it says a lot about us too.
It's the story filter.
Yeah,
Oh, here I
yeah,
am in
exactly. The
Nickerson
story
Gardens.
figure.
What good can come of this place? You're trying to absolutely be somehow this positive outside incoming influence. And I'm suggesting, I'm not saying this, and you already have this baggage, which I carried around too. Well, can anything good come out of Nazareth?
yeah.
That's biblical. Oh, who are you? You what? You're from where? You have no standing here. Get out of here. You can't tell us anything.
But
And
I,
you
but I
need,
think I think it's how you approach it, right? I mean, I think if people sense, where you, as David said, where you're coming from, and you're not coming there to sit on some throne. It's like, well, I'm gonna tell you how to live, because you got it all wrong, I mean, it depends on how you. I mean, I think it's like that with everything. It depends on how you approach people, how you speak to them. Do you speak down to them or not? And are I mean, are you open and authentic in your intentions? And I think once people sense that, you're the real deal. I mean, of course, if you sit there and come with and sit on your throne, well, I'm the big social worker, and you gotta blah blah blah, do this, do that, whole different attitude, right?
Yeah, it was different.
I mean, it's how I think, but it's true with everything, how you approach the other person and with an open heart and not in a condescending way.
Yeah,
it's that thing about story filter. You, as an individual, this whole business is about um, seeing yourself as the real you, whoever you most authentically are. And uh, I wrote it down: divorce, bankruptcy, end of the road, bottom of the falling. How far down can I go? You were in the perfect place. I'm making this up. You're in the perfect place to be somebody to help the helpless because you or yourself were in the middle of how helpless can I be? How down can I be? How worse can it get?
yeah. There
And
was
so
something inspiring. Like I think what the video didn't pick up is I was going through an upward spiral with the people in the community, and I was going in a downward spiral, but I didn't really care because I was in such an upward spiral that it was, they were both happening at once. You know what I mean? If you can imagine being pulled in two
which,
directions.
and
Hmm.
that's the double helix. That's the,
Hmm.
the spiral of you, here you are bottoming out in one sense. And at the same time, when you're bottoming out, you're spiraling up. And um, that's contrary to our cultural and our, hey, I'm a regular human being. I understand how life works. When you're down, you're down. When you're up, you're up. And
Yeah.
the craziness is that when you're up, beware.
Hey,
If
Grace
you're
Ann,
up,
Grace Ann got to meet Nora King. We were dating by then, and she was in Pittsburgh and I was in LA, and she was in LA, and it was before I was actually homeless. And the Peace Corps grant had just gotten approved by the Peace Corps. So a lot of a big event was going to happen in City Hall. Mayor Tom Bradley, you've heard of Mayor Tom. He was a mayor for a long time in LA. And so the Peace Corps representatives were there. Um, Nora and I were invited, the people that were in the first group to be getting jobs in the bureaucracy. The Peace Corps people hadn't really moved in yet. They never actually moved in. They were scared to death to be there. All they did was create a garden for tomatoes and cabbages and stuff, a community garden. I mean, it's a big deal, I guess, but I mean, it wasn't my vision of what they could be doing. Um, but anyway, they had the big event downtown. So Nora dressed up, resident management council ladies dressed up, about five of them, and we went down. I'm not sure if Oscar was there or not, but he might have been. We were down there. The mayor's on stage. He's congratulating the housing authority for bringing in the Peace Corps. Then the Peace Corps gets up and they congratulate the mayor for letting the Peace Corps come in and do economic development in the inner city in Nickerson Gardens. I'm sitting next to Nora King. They invited me up, but before that, Nora's there. She's going, "What the hell's going on? They're taking all the credit for stuff that the community did. They never helped train anybody. They didn't help do in baskets. They didn't write a grant. You know, they didn't do any of that. But now they're taking all the credit." And so they bring me up and they say, "Well, this is Professor Boje. He was instrumental in helping write the grant." And that was it. And they said, "Well, now we got to move on to the food and the wine and stuff that's in the lobby." And I said, "Well, just a minute here." And I put my foot down. I said, "Nora King is the one behind this. It was her idea to get this grant happening. I wrote the grant, yes, but I wrote it with the community. And I think it's only fair we have Nora King up here." So Nora King comes from the middle of the ballroom audience to the aisle, comes up on the stage, and she gave him a what for about what really was going on with the community. I mean, the woman was good at oratory skills. I mean, she's a good speech person, and her words were powerful. And that's the other thing about this thing that's not in the video is the power of words and the power of story. You know what I mean? When she was in her full voice, the clarity, the control, the composure, she wasn't shaking. She had that audience riveted. You know what I'm saying? And and that's the kind of woman that I work for, you know? But you had to stand up for yourself or get nothing. You know what I'm saying? But how these bureaucrats could just run away and say they did it. And I'm going like, I don't remember them doing anything. I remember them fighting against us. Like I had to get a tape recorder to tape the guy and his lives before we could even get a thing going. let's tell that story. We didn't. We were polite, but yeah. So, but it was really sad to see her defeated in the resident management election and then somebody else come in. But that was the back and forth, political movements using the community for their own benefit, not really for the benefit of the community in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, well, let me show you a second video, or we'll probably never see it. See, talk amongst yourselves. I've got to go find it. Let's see, where the heck is it? Um, growth.
That's the line from Saturday Night Live, Coffee Talk with, I forget the name, Edna somebody.
Oh,
She'd
yeah.
say, she'd say something like, crow's feet are neither crows nor feet. Discuss.
Yeah. Let's see.
Probably do an Enlightenment subject on just
Oh,
funny
let's
stuff
see.
like that.
Okay, so I think this is. Okay.
I'm David.
Okay. So this one answers your earlier question, kind of. Let's see if I can get everything hooked up real quick. I'm getting better at this Zoom stuff, you know. You have to do so much stuff in the background. Every time you choose a new video, you got to realign everything, regroup. Okay, so this looks good. All right. Here we go. Michael Boje, my Christian name. Well, they named me for David the Beloved in the Bible, Michael the Archangel, and the word Boje means buoy, like a buoy in a harbor. It's from the Danish part of my ancestry. Now today, I'm going to talk to you about my other name, Arihanta. It means conqueror of inner enemies, and I have no inner enemies. Everyone is my friend. So that's what we'll talk about today in this video. So when I was at a conference, the Organizational Behavior Teaching Conference in Pennsylvania, right, I saw this beautiful curly-haired woman in a cafeteria line at the conference, and it was a long line, and I went in behind her and I said, "Hey." And nobody heard me. So I stepped in behind the woman with the curly hair, and I heard her say, "I'm only going to date vegetarians. My husband, he's a meat eater. And now he's an ex, and I don't want to cook that meat stuff anymore." So I raised my hand and I said, "Hey, I'm a vegetarian. I heard you say vegetarian. What's good here?" And with that, in a nanosecond, I became a vegetarian. I didn't know what to eat in that cafeteria because I'd never done it before. And so she took beans and she took, I don't know, she skipped the lettuce and she skipped all the meats, everything that was interesting. A couple of garbanzo beans and some seeds. And I said, "Oh, this looks really good." And so this is all about how a thought, like that's a beautiful woman, comes into my mind. And then I speak a word. I'm a vegetarian. And then I have to take the action and become a vegetarian right then and there. So this is about Gurudev Chitrabhanu, who I met after Grace Ann, my wife now, and she took me to India several times, and she took me to meet Gurudev Chitrabhanu. And Gurudev gave me that Jain name, and I meditated on it for a year. I think I told you before, and came back and say, "Listen, I'm tired of conquering my inner enemies with this Arihanta name. How about a new name?" He said, "No, it doesn't mean that. It means everyone's your friend." Now today you get the friend part, how to make the whole world a friendship, right? And it starts with your inner thoughts and feelings and how to form them. And I'm going to let it be displayed here for you. And I'm becoming a Jane seer, someone who sees with the third eye right here between your eyebrows and balances these two eyes, the physical eyes, right? So we'll give you the steps, and whatever your faith, we in Jane, we accept them all. So enjoy the video, all right?
Today, we're diving into a really cool idea from David Michael Boje. It's all about how a single, instantaneous thought can completely change the entire path of your life. We're going to break down how that happens and, more importantly, how you can tap into that same power yourself. I mean, it's a huge question, right? Think about it. We have thousands of thoughts every single day, but have you ever had one that just felt different? Like a lightning bolt that hits you out of nowhere and suddenly everything changes. For the author, this was that lightning bolt moment. Just 4 simple words, a realization that kicked off this incredible, unbelievable chain of events. So what happened next? Okay, so picture this. There's this long, slow line at a conference cafeteria. The author, David Boje, spots a woman and has that lightning bolt thought. He just feels this pull to get closer, and as he does, he overhears this tiny, crucial piece of a conversation. She says she'll only date vegetarians. And in that split second, a thought becomes a word, and that word becomes an action. He didn't just say he was a vegetarian. In that very moment, he became one. It's this incredible power that we're here to unpack today. So what's really going on here? What's the deeper principle behind this wild story? Well, it all boils down to 2 key concepts in communication: the idea of being with ourselves and communicating between each other. Let's break that down. We all learned the 5 W's in school: who, what, when, where, and why. But Boje throws a 6th one into the mix: with. I want you to think of with as a key. In a world that's just full of noise and confusion, this key can unlock a much deeper, more authentic way to connect. So here's the difference. With is your internal state. It's how connected you are with your own inner self. Between is the external stuff, the actual dialogue that happens in that space connecting you to other people. And the core idea here is that you can't really have a meaningful between conversation until you are first truly with yourself. So how do we actually use this key? How do we get good at this state of being with? Well, the source material points us toward a really fascinating concept: our inner third eye. In Sanskrit, this is called agya, which means the eye of inner wisdom. Now, before this sounds too mystical, think of it more as a metaphor for your intuition, that command center for your inner perception. This is the eye that allowed the author to recognize that pivotal moment and just act without a second of hesitation. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. It perfectly sums up the whole process. It's a direct chain reaction from our internal world straight to our external world. And that third eye is the metaphorical spot where we learn to watch those thoughts before they actually become our reality. Okay, this is a really powerful theory, but how do we actually apply it? Lucky for us, the source gives us a very practical 7-step guide for cultivating this inner wisdom. All right, let's walk through these first few steps. Step 1 is control. Think of this as your defense, building a mental filter for all the negativity that comes our way. Step 2 is command. This is your offense.
I think I'll pause it there because it kind of just repeats what was in the other video. As I kind of wrote the Nickerson Gardens piece, I pulled a piece out of my earlier writing. Like, that's why it was a lot different. And so anyway, so I got these 2 films and what do? I want help.
What do you want to do with them?
Well, I got to come up with something for Monday. And I'm also thinking that I'm toying with the idea that when I work with the veterans on Friday and I work with the veterans on December the 18th, that I'll probably do some of this. And when I work with the leaders, people who want to do leadership at the conference on December the 17th, for that hour and 15 minutes, I'll probably do some of this. And
Okay, I see 2 words in your mind, thought balloon over your head: veterans, leaders. and we have these two videos about your giant background that has to do with the third eye and with and between. So if you walk into a room full of veterans, if I walk and what happens to me if I encounter a veteran or I'm in a room full of veterans? That starts me thinking or doing stuff happens with me because I'm a veteran and I start relating. How do I relate? And it's never easy. It's always a piece of cake on the one hand, and oh my God, uh, until I know your story. Where were you? What happened to you? What was the trauma, if it was trauma, and so on. So if you're trying to relate, what I see as a connection, once upon a time, you walked into the Nickerson Gardens
Yeah.
reality. Okay.
Well, let me
Um,
stop you right there. So I wouldn't say the Nickerson Gardens story. It would be, it's more the attitude that comes through it. So I would just say I divorced, I was bankrupt. After Vietnam, I learned I had cancer at Agent Orange, blah, blah, blah. And so I'm relating to them that I've been through this stuff as a veteran. So therefore, I can probably listen to your story and not get freaked out about it or not behave like a civilian and give you a bunch of answers, you know?
yeah, veterans tend to be um, guards up. You walk into the room and you're going to help me. You're going to talk to me. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, so
Uh,
it's the analogies with Nickerson, it's the same kind of barrier, but a different trauma, you know? So I don't have to do Nickerson or anything. I just have to be in that moment of awareness of my own vulnerability as a veteran and my own experience of being in a hospital, watching people without body parts, and I'm there. Why am I there in the hospital when I still have my body parts? That kind of feeling, and and that I know what divorce is like. I know what homeless is like. I know what um, bankruptcy is like. So right there, I'm the pain thing, Olivia. You know, the pain paradise. I'm right there. Bang. I'm right there with their pain without me even having to do more than 70 seconds of that, you know?
You don't, and I think you don't even have to nominate or go through the detail of your experience and your story. There's very awareness. Oh, I understand vulnerability because I've been steamrollered by life, this. So instead of saying that, they're just in the room.
Yeah. And then from there, I just say, I'd like somebody to volunteer and I'd like to take you through a process. And I wait for the volunteer if it's a spouse or if it's a veteran or if it's a child of a veteran, I move. Just like I did on Monday with Igor. Ignore, I think his name. And shout out to Ignore from South Africa. Thank you. Yeah.
So David, that means you would bring a volunteer up the stage then, and
Yep.
okay.
And then I would
You
do
know,
the process.
when
You know.
when you said the microphone was handed to me and I was compelled to be on stage, I had to do improv. I had to make it up. I wasn't prepared. That reality, which I keep taking away from our sessions here, that keeps happening in breakout rooms and so on. People are handed the microphone. Okay, go. And
Yeah.
that's really powerful when somebody who says, "Who, me? I've never done this. Don't give me the microphone. I ain't got no, I have nothing to say." And
Yeah, they do. They do.
it's always baloney. The person who says, "I'm not ready for this. I have nothing to say. Why do you want me to become the center?"
Yeah. And then from there, you do the demo in front of the audience, and then you have breakouts, you know, and then you have a facilitator that's has some military background in each of the breakouts, you know, because I can't be in all of them. You know, Doug will be in one. Tanya won't be there, but for Friday, she'll be there. So for Friday, Tanya will give like 20 minutes about being a veteran, coming out of the Air Force, blah, 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 with PowerPoints. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to get a volunteer and work with them.
But she's powerful. I'm volunteering, who, me? I'm a veteran. Uh,
Yeah.
what have I got to say?
Because you can't do 90 minutes. You can't do 90 minutes of slides. You have to actually do something,
Yeah.
a process, you know.
So what do you do? You're in a room with somebody else, start talking. Or to
I
me,
look for I look for the third eye and I say, that's that's the opening. Go, you know.
the third eye and the other person.
No, just in myself. Because like when I'm with Vanessa, if you see me with Vanessa, I can go right into third eye like bang, you know, without all the other stuff that normal people do. I just go and I'm there, you know, and then I don't have to waddle around, you know. So
Okay.
that's
With
what I
with
can
that
do. And
with
then
that third eye awareness, the whatever it is, sacral, I forget what solar plexus, whatever it is, the sacrum.
yeah. Well, I
That's
can show you.
that's the key. The rusty lock. The rusty lock are the veterans. Let's assume. I'm guessing. You're talking about I'm going to be together with a bunch of veterans, and what you can guess or assume is lots of rusty locks here.
Yeah.
And so, how do we come up with the keys? Oh, I don't know how to go about that. It's the
I
rusty
think
lock is the stuck stories that are, I see a stuck
Oh,
yeah.
stories or
yeah.
stuck something that's in so many people. And you have to get people, you have to get, I don't know, it's nice if
Get
you
them to
get,
tell their story.
Yeah, I can see you. I've got some
yes,
confusion happening here. I'll bring it in.
say,
I'll
say
try
that
to
again,
help.
Olivia.
I would say get them to tell their story. That's
Yeah,
how,
that's the key. But for them to
yeah.
tell your story, you got to drop into yours real quick.
Yeah. And the
And
third eye is the pineal gland.
Yeah,
that's what it's called. Yeah, it is called that.
Yeah. So
Not in
avoid
Jane, but
fluoride
it
because
is
that
called
can
that.
harden
Yeah.
it.
Yeah,
yeah,
it is
and
called
there
that.
has to be a sort of a meeting. Um, there's a old song called "Now Is the Hour." I looked it up some time ago. It's about Maoris. It's a Maori origin connected story, and it's when Maori people come together to show how they relate to one another. They press their foreheads together. It's like the third eye of my forehead, or in that part, then the third eye of your forehead. Their greeting is to do that. I'll send a photograph to everybody. It just blew me away when I saw it. Oh, nobody ever know. People hug each other, they kiss each other, but I
Yeah.
never saw this strange thing where you go forehead to forehead
Oh,
and
yeah.
make
Well, before
and
we
make.
go there, let me go we're into
Yeah.
the text.
Oh, wow.
So this is what you were asking about. So in doing these 7 sessions with you all, preparing them for Thinkman and doing the Growth OD, and we're going up to the sixth one, what started to happen is by about the third one, I started with a lot of Tom Lemke's stuff. Then I got the Thank You Jesus book. I'm doing that. I'm doing the Psalms and Proverbs. And then I said, well, what about my stuff with Jainism, you know? So I said, well, let me do the Sanskrit words. That's in the first column next to the numbers. They're about the chakras, second column. Then I'm doing the widths. Now the widths didn't even happen until like the third, fourth session we were doing. But the the W's started to line up for me with the chakras and other things. And then the B's, I wanted to confess, you know the B's, but I've not been using in that film today, the first one, they used the word anti-narrative. I've been purposely not using that word for 6 weeks so that I could move out of the academic jargon and into just talk about between relationships, talk about a chakra. And then the 7 steps of restoring are lined up with the 7 principles, the last 2 columns, because when I was doing true storytelling sessions that Oscar had and Olivia had, and maybe Sabine had, I was always, we would do them 1 principle at a time, last column, and then I would bring in the restoring, and sometimes I get to the B's, but usually not. So this time I only wanted to do B's. So I haven't been doing the last 2 columns, but they're there. But what I have been building is this chakra relation with the widths and the B's. So I just wanted to reveal this to you, Paul, so that you could see the logic of the thing.
Right, and I'm visual and logic. I love every time you do a tabular rearrangement of all this stuff, because every time you do it, for me, over time, from a distance, every time you put all of these parts together, it's very difficult for me to see how they cohere. Let's see. Okay, we're in line 3, Manipura, solar plexus, wind, bets, sympathize, and so on. The table, by simply juxtaposing those things that are foremost in your mind and arranged according to usually a set of 7 somethings.
Yeah.
It all works together to make it cohere in a way that I can walk away with it and say, let's see now, he was talking about width. Where does that fit, with between and so on? And there's no easy answer to it.
Well, there is. It's in the table.
Well, yeah, it's the table.
Right.
Well,
I'd love to. Yeah, I was just gonna say that I really love this, and Paul being a music lover, you could also add a column for the notes of the scale or the frequency or the color. It would be
Yeah, you
really
could go
cool.
further.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's the kind of brain I got. That's
Yeah.
the
I'm just
academic
seeing
brain.
it
That's not the
all.
third eye brain. That's
So
not
when
but
you're
that's
working, when you're in becoming, then what's the frequency you want to be listening to and the color you want to be meditating on? And yeah, it's just really
and,
fun.
and all of that arrangement, a simpler. It's like what we need, what I need, is the table of contents to the Boje mind.
Yeah,
Okay,
good luck with that.
and right. Well, it's a Sargasso Sea.
Daily updates.
It's lots of kelp floating around, and but it doesn't matter. Every attempt to bring it all together and shrink it to a single page, can it be shrunk to a single page? Can a video be made 1 minute or 2 minutes? The attempt to do
Yeah.
that is always useful. If I
Yeah.
can, if I can reduce this unwieldy complex of actions and thoughts, if I can somehow corral it. It's like a horse in a corral as opposed to a horse on the open range. The horse is useful to me, and I'm not a horse person at all. I'm just saying the horse, which is in a pen or in a corral, becomes useful, if I can use that word, becomes useful to a human being in a way that the horse cannot be useful when it's wild and running free.
I hear
The,
you. Now the second video, the end of it ends with Shakespeare. You know, we're all the world's a stage, we're all but players playing our roles. Let's not be too serious about the roles we play, is
right.
essentially
But
the
the other
the
line of
gist of it.
Shakespeare,
And
it's
that's in the video at the end
yeah,
of that
I
second
loved
video.
it. I loved it when I saw Shakespeare. I said Shakespeare and Heidegger. I said
So
Shakespeare and act well your part. There all the honor lies. It's Shakespeare. Oh, I'm in a play. I have a
yeah.
microphone. I have a costume. What the hell am I supposed to do? Just do it.
So what's your advice, oh think tank? What do you think? I mean, I'm pretty sure we can do Monday and I can get snippets of the 2 videos or just go with one of them. And
I think you could do a whole course on this.
I think it'd be like the Course of Miracles, that they used to,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Oh
You know,
yeah.
I think Olivia, you're right because I mean, I mean, I see this and it's useful, but then I'm like, I see this table and it's like, well, now I want to dig deeper, you know?
You want to
It's
go
like,
deeper? Oh my
Mhm.
God. That's why you and I get along so well in these think
I
tanks.
know, right? It's like,
Me
well, this
too.
is all nice,
Other
but
people, they
it's like,
say, "Oh, you're going to go deeper? I think I got to get a cup of coffee or something. I'm out of here."
like I mean, a lot of
Uh,
people would run out of there, but I mean, to me, this is like, like that table that you showed, it's almost like an appetizer menu.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, it's like, well, tell me more about, oh,
hmm
throat. I mean, these are just, like words, but what are they? And, where do we go from
Well,
here? And, I mean, I think there is so much richness there.
well, if we're all energy beings and we're in this
It,
energy
it, it-
world, the ability to read
Yeah.
energies is like an important thing, you know, and to read your own energy in relation to other
But
energies
right.
is
And
like,
and
wow,
Olivia,
uh-huh.
Vanessa, that's what Vanessa does to me.
sure
Yeah.
she does it. Yeah.
No, she's an
Um,
energy reader. Okay.
or
Am I right?
yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I
so
guess. I mean, she helps people clear their energy. So I guess you could say that.
she can tune in pretty darn well.
Yeah.
She
Yeah,
does.
yeah.
She's got a gift.
Um, have you guys heard of this three-eye atlas that's kind of like
No, let me
in
write
the
it down. Oh, I don't have
space,
anything to
or
write with.
it's supposed to
Three.
No,
come
wait,
in,
say that
it's
again,
some say it's a
Olivia, please.
comet or something that's coming into our solar system. It's
Oh,
called Three Eye Atlas, and what I
Oh, yeah.
understand it is it's to wake up our third eye. So I'm not sure, obviously if this is true, but they're saying it's some perhaps future uh, uh, people that are more evolved are coming to help us wake up our third eye and then lift the planet, which is the Atlas metaphor. So
Oh,
yeah.
I love that.
look it up. It's Three Eye Atlas, and you'll
I
probably
love
find
that.
By the
Three
way, that
I or three I.
it's
Three,
the
the
number
number three.
three, the letter I. That's what they're calling it. But you could, yeah. So search it with the
yeah.
letter I and then
Yeah.
Atlas.
I love that.
By the way, Vanessa's going to have her debut on Thursday, 5 p.m. Mountain, 4 p.m. on California time. And
That's at the very end of the
and I got to
conference.
get the link into the Growth OD site. I'm going to try to do that before we head to
I mean,
You mean,
that.
there
oh, so
is,
that's the last presentation, I guess. Is it?
Yeah, she wants me to be on there as a guest, and it was cute because she said
Oh,
she wanted to rehearse some of it. I said, I don't need to rehearse it. You just pop the question. I don't need to practice. I want to be in the moment. I don't want to like know what you're going to ask me or anything. I just want to do it,
yeah.
you know? So,
But there's
want that
something about
energy to be there. I don't want to like, oh, now she's going to do this, so I'm ready with that. I don't want that, you know?
yeah. David, what really struck me is when you talked about, and you've talked about this many times, that moment when you saw Grace Ann
Oh
in
yeah,
that
that's my
cafeteria,
favorite
right?
go signature
You've talked
story.
about
Yeah.
this a lot, but then I was thinking about the richness of this, right? I mean, this was what, like a couple of seconds, right? If that.
Mm,
And how much was packed into that. I mean the I mean that fascinates me, like a almost if you
Yeah.
let's take, like an expensive gemstone, how much value is packed into such a tiny thing, it's almost inconceivable. But then, I mean, I think it's almost like things that we not necessarily are able to explain, because I mean, you knew that was that, and it wasn't anything where you analyzed or you just
mm.
reacted, right?
Yep.
And how many things had to come together for that to be true, right? I mean, we can't just go out and expect these moments to happen all the time. Oh
Oh,
my
yes, you
God,
can. You can, Sabine.
oh, whoa, this is,
but
Sabine, the
but
moments are there. The moments are
but
absolutely there.
but they
yeah, but not, I
happen.
mean, I guess, but the level of that moment,
Tom,
that intensity of this, and that, I mean, you knew, right? I mean, there was this, it had to be her. It,
It,
absolutely.
and there
it
No
was
was
no,
doubt.
and not know, I mean, you didn't know at that point her history or anything, right? And it
No.
didn't, how that did not even get
Oh, I was
into
so
that.
naive. I was telling her, like, I'm a difficult guy. You don't know about me. There's a lot of stuff. And she says, I have horses, I have whips. So, Tom, go ahead.
I have whips.
Thank you,
it
David. You have a gift of simplifying the complex and making the simple complex
yes,
so
and
that we want to, what Sabine was saying is you inspired me to think to go deeper on where you are. I think Olivia's comments on the colors and the vibrations and all of those pieces can be a continuing extension of what you started. I don't know where it'll lead, but I think you put together just a wonderful framework that has led me into wanting to learn more. So you've thrown a hook in the water and I bid on it.
but
Yeah,
this is
I
this is the
second that, Tom. Well said.
this is the organized, highly spreadsheet, the table of seven things, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Nobody
highly
will ever see
organized.
that, by the way.
But
But you
no,
guys.
but the other part of this, as you just said, Tom, making the simple complex, right? And leaving you with a happy feeling about that,
You mean
and making the
opposite?
complex simple.
Oh,
Everybody's happy about that. All that's automatic. But they are ongoing and interactive and interwoven processes. Let me make this simple for you, as simple as I can. Dot, dot, dot. Underneath that, or beside somewhere at the same time, is the reverse process happening all along with it. David, it was intuitive. You talked about the third eye, about the sacral part.
Right here.
You and Grace Ann coming together at the lunchroom scene, whatever. Oh, was that a plan?
No.
Or was that, I go, it's the principle of uncertainty. What was the probability of you meeting Grace Ann? Let's run that through the
Well,
computer. Let's ask the
the
AI, whatever.
energies are attracting. I mean,
Yeah, there's
she
something
says she
going.
wasn't, but she was attracted, and I was attracted. I mean, those energies are attracted. You know, all I have to do is wake up to it.
mhm.
Well, and sort of let it happen. Um,
Yeah,
it's
did you see the photos of her? I went to her age now to a decade ago and to 2 decades
there
ago.
was an early photograph and an early video
Yeah,
of you and her long
yeah.
ago that was so charming. I said, "That's him. That's her."
That doesn't
Um,
even, yeah, it
and
doesn't
I
even
said,
look
"Oh,
like us.
they look different."
Well,
And I
she
went,
looks the same. I look different. She wears well. Yeah.
"But you
Well,
have evolved. You have evolved from that moment, as has everybody.
yeah, and that moment
Everybody."
has more and more depth to it. Like for you, I was greatly privileged to share with you about Nora King, homeless, the divorce, her divorce. I mean, all of these things were forces in the universe. And then I saw her, you know what I mean? And then she saw me, and then the rest is history. You know what I mean? It's just like
Well,
all those
what you
forces came together, or it wouldn't have worked, you
But
know?
what you are doing now is offering us an explanation or an interpretation of the forces that were happening. Oh, I saw her. I said four words, but this
Yeah,
is the
that's the
one,
simple line.
and I'm a vegetarian. Two short sentences, and with those two short sentences, your life was turned upside down, inside out, and kicked forward into the future. And
Yeah, and Grace Ann, she said, "Well, I'm not going to date this guy." she tells me now, unless she's got a therapist and he goes to personal development seminars and I do a thorough background check. He visits in
Hmm.
Pennsylvania, meets my family. I visit in LA, meet people he knows. I mean, Grace Ann, she's going to investigate every tributary, to
right?
make sure
But
it all maps out. Then she's going to say, okay. And then she's
you're
going to back out, if you know Grace Ann. Like, I got her to say yes to marriage once. She backed out immediately within 24 hours. And the second time, she backed out. I think it was the third time that she finally said, okay, if you complete these personal development sessions, okay, if this, if that, there's
Wow.
always another if. Yeah.
but
Wow.
your intuition about her was right on.
Well, I
Okay.
needed her, her,
Right, right. You
her
needed her.
ability to have high expectations for things. You know what I mean? So, so
Nobody else ever thought you were going to amount to much. Can I say that without insulting you? I
no,
don't
my
mean that.
mother said when I got the job at UCLA, I said, "What they hired you at UCLA? What the hell are they thinking?" You
There
know,
you go. And
that
you
was
heard
my
that.
mother's reaction. My dad was, "Well, I'm the genius in the family. I never thought of you as a genius." I go,
So
"Thanks,
both
Dad."
of both of your parents,
Whoa.
both of your parents dismissed you as nothing good is ever going to come out of
Well,
this.
that's why Olivia and I we like Genius Unlocked and Tom with a Genius Unlocked. That was wow. Think of yourself as a genius. Well, that's weird.
I remember training, well, it was a therapist that said at some point in your life, you have to go through, even if your parents are alive, you have to go through a grief process of the losing the parents you thought you had or you wanted that you
Wanted.
never had, and
Hmm.
then accepting the ones you have.
Well, that I'm
Mhm.
in the accepting. I learned my mother was such grit. She had such grit. I think I might have mentioned Sabine, she was a basketball player in high school. My dad was a football player, a linebacker. I mean, these are very physical beings. They could fight, they could, you know, brawl on the courts and on the field. And she fought, I think she's from Cle Elum in Washington State, and I don't know, 50 miles away was another high school, and they had this rivalry, just this strong rivalry. When the girls' basketball team played, all the communities turned out, and there would be fights on the court. That's my mother you're talking about, you know?
Wow.
Knock, grab the hair, pull him to the ground,
Mm.
punch him in the gut,
My
breast, or
God.
whatever. You know, that's
David,
mom.
David, how lucky you were.
Oh, you
Okay.
think? I was scared to death. I spent most of my childhood in a cupboard, you know?
And I'm saying, in all these years later, how lucky you were to have such difficult parents
Oh,
who loved
geez.
you, but couldn't
Yeah,
show it or
in
didn't
their
show
own
it.
way. She was spick and span, and he was, what was he? Breadwinner, I guess, kind of, you know? You know what I mean? They weren't around much, really. Anyway, enough about me.
Well, no
Um,
Well,
wonder. I mean, it explains, it's like, I guess hugging would have been considered weakness.
are you
mhm.
kidding? When I got to Nickerson Gardens and those women started to hug me, I go like, what the hell is this? I don't even know. And this feels good. And
Feels good.
yeah,
Yes.
It's
can we have
no,
a
but
longer hug?
for your
I mean,
mother, right? She would have
woman,
seen
I
this.
mean,
I mean, yeah,
real women,
obviously your mother saw
Yeah.
this differently, right? I mean, to her,
full,
this
full
might
of
have been
love,
weakness.
full of kindness, full of
Yeah.
all this stuff, and you go like, and no tit for tat. It was just like, yeah, we'll hug you
It was
unconditionally,
it was fun,
unconditionally.
Unconditional.
spontaneous, unconditional.
Hmm.
You had been
Yeah.
raised
You
to
know how
say,
shocking that is to some Scandinavian rooted
Oh,
Scotch person that
yeah.
had parents that didn't hug each other, let alone their children. I mean,
there's
nothing,
there's no
not
hugging
one
in
hug till I was in my 20s from my dad. Not one
there's
hug from my mother until I went and hugged her,
there's
and
no
it was
hugging in family. There's
like
no
if
crying
you
in
want to kill an
baseball.
You get
animal.
around Italians, as far as
Well, what
like
what do you think Grace
European
Ann is? She's
or Spanish.
Sicilian, for God's sake,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
There you go. There you go. This is Italians hug everybody. They overdo it all the
Are you
time.
kidding? It takes an hour to get out of the door when you say goodbye. It's like,
Right.
Right,
oh,
right.
Oh,
I,
yeah.
And then the
oh,
Scandinavians, it's we had a nice time. See you later. Bye.
Well, David is
Well, I
funny,
was
you know.
British, the same thing.
happy to meet you.
Well, it's funny. My husband David, and when we are someplace, he'll often say, "No Italian goodbyes. Let's go."
Hey, that's a real thing. That's a real thing. I gotta go.
Mm.
I gotta drive to Cruces and uh Grace Sam's got everything packed and ready to go. I gotta put this computer in the truck and drive. So I'm gonna have to
All
go.
right.
But thank you
Well,
very
this
Thank,
is
much. I can't tell you how important you are to me to have a think tank. If I couldn't think these things through, I just have mush for Monday, you know,
Feeling is mutual.
popcorn with milk on
honored.
it.
I love
David,
it.
So,
thanks
Okay.
for letting me be a fly on the wall today. I
well, what
really
did you think,
enjoyed.
Anastasia? What did you think about
So,
all
yeah, I'm
this?
learning. I'm new here, of course, and learning all about you. I love the stories today. The shorter video really brought it home to me, and I didn't know any of that background about Nicholson Park, and it's still. I just from that perspective, I want you to know that it was very powerful to go through just the story with the AI, even as it is. Um, to come to that, what is with and what is, the sixth W and that meaning of that internal dialogue with yourself and how the story itself. I think it was good as it is, and then you enriched me even further with the more details, and I can see everybody's talking about like what is happening between the lines here. What happened between that moment before you saw Grace Ann and you turned around and then you saw her. Like there's so much that's packed into those moments. But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for
Thank you.
letting me hang out with you all today and just listening in.
Well, we'll
Well, we're
hope
so
you're going
glad
to
you're here.
present to us on in Thinkman and be part of us, and then
Yeah,
the Growth OD. We hope you'll do both of those. Or at least
yeah,
I do, you know.
yeah. I'm looking forward to it. So we'll talk about that, and I will be there Thursday. I'm
All
looking
right.
forward to Vanessa's
Okay.
presentation
And
and
then
That's
if
awesome.
anybody can make it
And Friday.
Friday mine's at 10
Yeah.
a.m. Mountain, 9 a.m. California time, and whatever the other time zones are. Because I need help to run that crew, you know.
how many people do you have signed up now? Because I saw that and I
One,
didn't know
I
if I
got
should
one,
say anything.
I got
Oh,
one person and three presenters and one person signed up to assist. So I got like
so
I'm
David,
I'll
if you
be
want
there.
some help with your marketing, I can help you.
I do.
We have 28 people signed up for Vanessa's event.
Well, I could use some help with marketing, absolutely.
There's a science to that,
Well,
kind of.
I just want to get the thing on the ground running Friday and
Yeah.
then schedule
Yeah,
another one
we
in
can
January and
go
another
through
one
it.
in February and then
mm.
let
Yeah.
it go
One of
out of
the
the gate.
secrets is you send them to a page where there's no other choice but to sign up, that there's
Yeah,
nothing.
I have those pages for about a day and then other things migrate into them and then I have to rebuild them the next week.
Well, we'll talk.
But
That's great.
okay, so we have a page like that. Yeah, you go to Growth OD and you click on the veteran thing, there is that page. It's not on the Growth OD page, but it is its own page and it could be sent out. And there, as far as I know, there's nothing there.
We are
Well, maybe
still
there's a couple
recording.
of things. There's only three other things. There's
We
yeah.
are still recording. Did you want to do that?
Oh, sorry. I don't care.
I
I'm
don't
not
care.
saying anything I'm embarrassed about. Olivia's the queen of marketing, so what are you going to do? You know?
Please cut that off.
Uh,